Welcome to episode 24 of the Midwest Angler Podcast. As always, I'm Dusty Ramsey. Today, I'm joined by the winner and the co-angler runner-up of last weekend's Iowa Great Lakes Bass Club Tournament at Okoboji. Matt, Scott, how's it going, guys?
Hey, it's going pretty good. Thanks for having us on the show, Dusty.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Really, me either. This is kind of a new thing for me.
Yeah, this is a cool setup you got here, Dusty.
Yeah,
How long? 24 episodes, huh? That's pretty impressive.
it's going good.
Yeah, I'm surprised you got even any views.
Yeah. I'm wondering how many people are going to turn this video off the second that it starts when they see your ugly mug.
As soon as he said welcome. No, we're back.
Yep.
Had a great weekend.
Best fishing weekend I've had in a long time.
Yeah, we competed, like Dusty said, in the Iowa Great Lakes Bass Club's our second tournament of the year, held on the Okoboji Chain of Lakes, and
We caught them.
just one of those days.
We caught them.
You know, I've always heard people talk about, you have one of those days, it just seems everything goes right, and it kind of did for us, for the most part.
You know, we've talked about it. We've had those days plenty of times when we've been out fishing, and
Right.
It doesn't matter what we drop down the hole or, what we cast, we catch the fish. And it just never seems to happen. Not, for me, I don't have a ton of experience tournament angling, but you have more. But finally to get that
Right.
happen on the right day was just crazy.
Yeah, it really did align from the get-go. I mean, you were on fire right away from the very moment we started, and just kind of rolled the whole dang day with it.
Yep. I've thought about that a lot. We got to the first spot, and at first we started flipping up against the bank, and we weren't really having a ton of luck.
Right.
And just the way the wind was, the back of the boat kind of came around, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to cast way out there as far as I could. And bam, got one. And, 2 casts later, bam, got one. And then we kind of realized, like, you know what, maybe where we're at, what we're doing isn't the best thing. And, we just kind of adapted as the day went on, and we kind of found the spots. Later on, you found spots where you would start pitching a jig when we got into this area as we drifted across the lake and, jig fished there. I threw a chatterbait the whole entire time, but there was definitely areas where they were biting the chatterbait a whole lot better, and you caught at least one of your big ones on.
Flipping, yeah.
Yep.
Flipping into the grass pockets and everything like that. Yeah, we developed a pattern and just kind of stuck with it. And then when it started getting slow at times, then I would pick up a Texas rig and kind of flip a little creature bait out there and see what happened. And caught a lot of fish doing that too.
Yep, a lot of northern pike and a 20-inch
A
walleye.
20-inch walleye. That was a surprise. I thought it was a northern. I watched that come up and hit, and it was just a long, sleek-looking fish. So I figured, it's just another northern. But when it turned and I realized it was a walleye, I was kind of, that was my first open water walleye of the year.
Yep.
Which is kind of crazy to think, but
Yep.
I was really surprised that they had the tournament. I was down in the Mars, and I got those first couple snaps from you guys of a couple fish, and saying that you guys were already starting to cull, and I was really surprised because the weather. You guys were kind of concerned about if the weather was going to hold up or not, and it sounded like it turned into be a pretty nice day.
It was crazy.
It was a great day.
On our way over there, when we hit about Sibley, it was crazy. I mean, it was raining hard, and there was lightning, out in the distance and whatnot, and it's like, this is not going to happen. We woke up at 3 o'clock for no good reason.
Right, we thought we were going to drive over there. We thought, well, maybe it will be an hour delay or something. We'll just sit there until it blows over or whatever. But we got there. It was all out of the area. I mean, it was still raining and it was windy. I mean, the ride across Okoboji was kind of rough. We had to slow down, and get a little amped up. And all these guys are taking off, and you start to go, and then you realize that you're still in an 18-foot tiller boat, and it's like, all right, let's just calm down, Matt. Let's just get there.
Right.
Okay?
At that point, we realized we weren't going to be the first person to a spot.
They were passing us the way it was. So.
Yep. And but then we got to our spot, and what was it? Just a couple minutes later, the rain kind of quit, and 2 hours later, the sun started poking through, and it definitely changed the bite.
Yep.
It was pretty crazy how. When the bite was better when it was cloudy.
Right.
Definitely. And in that clear water.
Yeah,
like
I think with that clear water, and you got, like I said, you got on fire right away. You had 3 in the live well before I had a keeper.
But you were catching northern.
Right. I caught the one northern right away, but then I caught a couple small bass.
Did you?
But, well, that was after I switched and threw something else and caught a couple short ones. But yeah, you were starting to call before I even had one in the box. And then, so it was just like we started talking a little bit and we were kind of throwing the same thing. And the one thing I noticed that you were doing that I wasn't doing as much is you were making some bomb casts. You were really getting it out there away from the boat. And sometimes in clear water, that's what it takes, is you can get it out there away from you. They're not as spooky, and I mean, you caught a couple that way, and as soon as I started doing that, and then I finally caught my first keeper of the day.
I think half the fun was my inexperience with a bait caster. Just
let that
it was
thing
just
go.
fun to really let her rip. My arms were tired the next day. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
you know, just all those long casts like that.
Cast and reel.
Yeah. God dang it, that was more fun than what I could handle.
Yep, and I even have to replace some line on one of my reels. We were talking about it last week with Greg, and yeah, talking about getting bad backlashes. Well, I went to make a cast one time, and I had to have my trolling motor up a little bit higher than what it normally is, and whack! I hit that, and
I thought a gunshot
like-
went off. It was crazy. It was loud.
it was like, well, stop and retie something else on a different rod and get back to fishing.
You caught it in the.
I hit the top of the trolling motor.
Oh.
Like I
How-
went to
how
make
it
a
was-
side
yeah.
roll cast.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
just smoke it. And
the
the
lure
spool just went.
The lure hit the top of the head of the trolling motor, and yeah, the line just.
Yeah.
It was just.
He didn't even
Instantly.
attempt to take it
No.
out. He kind of looked at it and was like, yeah, that was
I would've said that down.
That one's done. I
Yeah.
said, threw it down and grabbed something else, and
Yeah, you said it right away too. Like, oh man, we were just talking about this with Greg about how it don't happen really ever, and yeah, it happened.
yeah, I went and bought some new line the other day for it, so gonna have to re-spool it up.
Let's see that chip.
Yeah,
Show the chip to the viewers. Look
Yeah,
at that.
Nice little kind of coaster, cool little thing. You know, it something for winning it. I don't know. It was just it's pretty cool feeling for me because like I was telling Scott, like during the weigh-in, he goes, I don't know how you cannot be freaking out right now, and I was just like, inside I am, because it was really, some people might think I was just a club tournament and everything like that, but for me I've kind of fished that club on and off throughout the years, and I've always questioned whether, can I compete with some of these guys? Because there are some awesome fishermen in that club.
Oh, yeah.
They really are. There are some really good fishermen. Not only are they good fishermen, they're great people too. And, you kind of question it sometimes. You go over there and, there was a lot of years where I would never bring in a limit. And so it's just kind of like, is it worth spending the money to do it? So then I would just kind of, every once in a while, I might go fish in that club and never really did it like on a consistent basis. And then this year you kind of wanted to get into it a little bit, and the way they have the co-angler thing set up now, it really works out nice. And so we started doing it, and yeah, it was just pretty cool. It just kind of justified, sometimes like the Facebook post I put up there, sometimes I question like my abilities as a fisherman, and like, because I know there's way better fishermen than I am out there. But yeah, this just kind of says, all right, it kind of justifies a lot of the time that I spend and go over there and do the fishing. And
Everyone has their day. I've
Right.
said
Oh, yeah.
I've said this a million times. Everyone has their day. We've all had those days where we get
Right.
out there where no one on the lake could touch us.
Yep.
And it happens, and finally it happened.
yeah, my first keeper of the day was a 20.5 incher, and it was just like, we were both like, oh,
baby.
yeah. We were just like, are you, oh.
Yeah, I had like a 14, and a 16 or something, and I had called up to that 16, and all of a sudden he brings that one in the boat, and I mean, the excitement in the boat, when we saw that
Yeah.
thing hit the water, me running the net, I shouldn't even say this because I'm going to jinx myself, but I just, when you see a fish like that come to the top of the water and it's on you, because Matt's going to swing it to you, you better get a good net job on it. And yeah, thank God I got it, but I always wonder, as I'm doing it, it's like, oh boy, all right, yeah, okay, we got it. But yeah, the excitement in the boat, there was a lot of fist bumps, there was a lot of man noises. I don't know what you want to call it.
People who fish know what the language.
They would have thought some gorillas were in the boat. We were hooting and hollering.
King Kong was out there somewhere.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun, and then he caught another one, a 20-incher that was probably fatter. That
right.
I guess we
that
could
was
get
like
into
19 and a half. Yeah, I probably should have weighed that one for big bass, but it still I don't think would have got me big bass. So.
No, but I do believe that it could have gone over 5.
It would have been close to 5, yeah.
Yep.
It was a little bit thicker fish, but
and
at the time you're just so dang excited, and yeah.
Yeah, I got runner-up by 0.15.
Right.
And, and everyone else probably had fish that got off too, but I remember that one fish by the bank. And the goofy thing is I was sitting on the other side of the boat, in the back of the boat, on the other side of the motor, and I cast it up across the motor, across the boat, up towards shore, and I hooked that one, and it was a good fish. I know it would have been one of my bigger fish, maybe not bigger than my big fish, but in second place. And Matt was telling me, get your rod down, put your rod tip towards the water. He's going to jump and he's going to shake it off. Well, I couldn't because I was over there and, worried about losing my footing and everything else. And it jumped through the hook and, and at the time I already had my 3 fish. That was my goal for the tournament, was to weigh a limit. I mean, it wasn't to get third, it wasn't to get fourth, it wasn't to get first or second, it was to weigh a limit. And I had it. So at the time it was like, no big deal, like I still got a limit. But now looking back and knowing that I lost by 0.15, it's like, man, how cool would that have been? Because, I mean, just as pumped as Matt was to win it, I was just that pumped to get second, I mean, I got some money, it wasn't a ton, but I don't know if I'm ever going to spend that money. I might keep that money.
It was just exciting, especially for something like that in your second tournament that you fished.
Definitely.
I mean, and like you said, your goal going into a tournament anytime is to get the limit right away.
Right.
And get your limit. And like you said, you got yours right away, so it's just kind of like, it takes a huge pressure off you. Now it's just like, okay, I've got a limit. Now it's about, now I got to upgrade it and find it. And I mean, like I said, I was a little flustered up there, and Scott knew it. I mean, he's back there catching fish, and I'm up there kind of like, dang it, it's like, what am I doing? Like, what's he doing that I'm not doing, and everything like that. But
and I don't care, I mean, we weren't competing against each other in the tournament, but any people that fish with each other for long enough know how that goes. Like, and it's not even necessarily like I need to beat him and I need to beat him bad. But when you're not catching fish and somebody else is, I mean, we've all had it ice fishing when drippy ramrods 10 feet away from us yelling, oh, I got another one, and we're not even marking anything. It's like, frickin' son of a gun, like, what the heck? And I mean, there is competition, and I mean, all us 3, we compete against each other, but I think it makes us better fishermen. I mean, it's no true hard feelings between any of us, but I mean, if you're not truly going out there to, be the best, you may as well not even go, truthfully.
It helps you learn too, because it's like those days where, me and Matt, or me and you, or whoever is down there, like say we're fishing at the river or fishing wherever, or like on the ice, and it's like you're not catching fish and they're slamming. It's like, okay, well, what is he doing that I'm not doing? Right. And like, you'll go over and ask him, hey, what's going on? Like, what are you doing that I'm not doing? And it's like, hey, slow down your cadence a little bit, or jig it a little less, or jig it a little more. And it's like, you start doing that, and then you start catching fish, and it just, I don't know, it helps me learn as a fisherman.
That's one of the main reasons that we actually invite you along, is because I know I'll never get last. I'll at least have second to last if ramrod's along.
Well, and also too, like, looking at both of you guys' weights, Matt won by a couple pounds. You were just like that 0.15 off. If this was a team tournament, you guys probably would have smoked everybody.
Well, and the interesting thing about that too is the next day there was a team tournament that Greg Vance and his dad fished in, and they came in third, and they weighed 19 pounds something, and second place was like 20 pounds and some ounces. And if we would have combined ours, obviously it wouldn't have been 13.21 plus 9.7 with 5, what you had, because it would be 5 fish. But I mean, you had the 147 would have added to, so we would have been scratching over 20 pounds, like right over that bag.
Oh yeah.
It would have been interesting to see what we would have had. Yep. And
you may have called I don't remember exactly what you
I
called.
called a 17 and a half
Did you?
with that 18 and a half, but that 18 and a half was a thick 18 and a half.
Yeah, I had that 20, and then I had maybe one that was like 16 and a half,
Right.
and then maybe another one that was like at 15 inches. But otherwise, I caught a lot of them in that 15-inch range. But,
Right.
There was a while there, when I was culling fish, I'd weigh one fish, 2.3 pounds, and, I'd upgrade it to a 2.4 pounder.
Yeah.
And, I was catching fish, but I wasn't upgrading by big amounts. And, that's just the way it happens sometimes. I mean, I dare say I probably caught 30 bass.
Oh, easily.
But it just...
And you talk about that. That's what we talk. Fishing tournaments are a game of ounces sometimes, and people are like, "Well, what are you only culling like an ounce?" Oh, the one was 2.4 and the other one was 2.3. Well, if
that would have made the difference for me.
0.15,
That would have made the difference for me.
so,
So
that's why you get down there. That's why you have all your scales and everything like that in the boat, and then you were sitting there with that. Your big fish was like right at 3 pounds at the time.
that
Right?
could be, yeah.
Like right at 3 pounds and just a little under or something like that. And then you hooked into that big one. And again, now I'm running the net, and it's part of it. I mean, you're trying to, you really want to get that fish in for the guy. And it's like, I don't want to mess up with this net job and everything like that. And you work together as a team to net the fish and guide it to the net and everything like that. And when we got it in the boat, and it was just like, I don't think we realized how big it was. We knew it was a nice fish.
Yep.
And then when we netted it and brought it into the boat, it was just like, there was again some of those
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
noises and fist pumps
Well,
and
and at that point in time, we have 3 fish that are 20 inches or above. And it's kind of, we had 2 hours to fish yet.
oh yeah,
So, at that point in time, we're kind of looking at each other like, if we go into the weigh-ins with 3 fish, one of us has 3 fish or like that, 20 inches or above, or both of us, if we roll back to the weigh-ins with 6 fish, 19, 20 inches or above, we're going to have a good chance. And we did see a lot of boats kind of, the boats would come by and then they'd take off, and no one was really doing the same thing that we were doing. And we stayed put. And when you see them other boats around, it's like, well, do they have their limit and they're just, running around looking for upgrades? What's going on? But I kind of, in my mind, I'm thinking, geez, he's got to be up there, and we didn't know until we showed up. Even then, a couple of the guys were like, well, how much you think you got? And Matt said something like, well, I don't know, maybe 11 or something like that. Because we hadn't weighed our big fish.
Right.
We knew that
We just knew they were big.
Yeah, we weren't calling them out, I'll tell you that for free.
we were calling them out. We were rolling up the way in like, yeah, what's up, fellas? We got this. But it was just like, like I said, because of the other fishermen in that club, both boaters and non-boaters, you have to catch big ones in order to give yourself a shot to finish it in the top 3, let alone win.
Yep.
And it usually, I've seen bags, it almost take 14, 15 pound to win it before. I've seen those.
But I think both of us were the last 2 to weigh.
There was a few, I think
Was
there
there
was
a
a couple
couple after
guys
us?
that weighed after us.
Okay. But I weighed in first, right before Matt, and when I got up there and I weighed my first big bass, 4.71, and all right, that's not big enough for big bass because I saw there was a 5.81 on the board already. Yeah, good enough, whatever, I'm still happy as a clam. Well, then all of a sudden, I weigh mine and I look over at the board and he writes down 9 point whatever I got, and it's like, holy smokes, like, I got second. Like, I'm going to have second, or at least third if there was somebody else. I didn't remember, but I knew I was up towards the top, and it's like, holy moly. Well, then Matt comes up and they they whip out 13 some pounds, and I look over at the board and it's like, there's no one with above 12. It's like he's got it handily, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It was just a heck
was
of a
awesome.
feeling.
I gave out a little fist pump when they said 13.12 or 13, yeah, whatever it was, and it was like,
Yep.
it was just kind of like, yeah.
You know when all the guys in the back kind of give the head nod like, nice bag. It's like, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
And
So,
a couple of them say, 10 pounds my rear end, you know. It's just like, well, it's like, I didn't want to be the guy that goes, oh yeah, I got probably about 13 pounds, and you go up there and weigh 10 pounds.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, okay. So,
Yeah, like we said, we had not weighed those big fish, so if they would have came in at 4 pounds, like, yeah, all right, you know, if they would have been 3.8, yeah, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
we had no clue, so. But those pictures, that one picture that I sent out, and I posted on the Facebook page, if any of you guys don't know what picture, but Matt's got a small bass and then the one big bass.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks like that small bass is bait.
It looks
Yeah.
like it would eat. Yeah.
And I mean, that was a 15-inch fish,
Right.
because Matt had it in the live well, and he culled it for that 20-inch fish. And granted, that's only 5 inches of length, but the girth, I mean,
Yeah.
Oh,
that was
man.
just, that was
it's
a,
crazy.
Those fish were hogs.
yeah, they were, it was fun.
Yeah, it was just one of those awesome days, and yeah, it was. I've had a lot of people. We've had a lot of people, both of us, come up in the community and say that they've seen it and congratulate us and ask all kinds of questions. You know, we were talking about this game of ounces, and you say how much 1.15 is ounces of what you missed first by. Well, if you look at it, you got second by a few ounces too, because the third place guy was up there with 9 pounds and some,
Was he?
Yeah, 9 pounds some ounces too. So that's why that culling. I mean, if you didn't cull out those small ones,
Yep.
you might have finished in third and compared to second.
Oh, yeah,
So,
and it's a tight race, you know, I mean, I weighed one fish that was 2.4 or something like that, and I know that because I weighed it out in the boat when I was culling. But yeah, 2.4, it doesn't take much bigger of a fish to go to 2.8,
right.
and then I'm out, just like that, if the third place guy gets 2.8, and, you know, I mean, that's half inch on a fish, you know, something like that, but yeah, it gets close, and not necessarily, the longer fish doesn't necessarily
Right.
weigh more, you know.
Right.
We saw this with Matt, and we don't know for a fact, but looking at the pictures afterwards, he had a 20 and a 20 and a half, and that 20 and a half does not have the girth of the 20.
Right.
And, you know, yeah, you should have weighed the other one, like we said before, it probably wouldn't have done it, but yeah, when it comes to culling fish, you can't just go like, yeah, I'm gonna call out a 17 for an 18, because probably, but not necessarily, does that mean that there's, you
Right.
know,
And the crazy thing is, my small fish, that 18 and a halfer, like I said earlier, that thing was
Jumbo,
it
yeah.
was thick. It was just like, wow, when we got it into the boat.
yep, the bellies on them were just cool.
Yeah, and you could definitely tell that they were pre-spawn fish, and that they were getting up and starting to probably getting ready and making beds, because their tails were all beat up pretty good. And,
Yep.
and a lot of the other people's fish that we saw were that way. So the spawn is going to take place eventually. I don't know, after the last couple days.
Yeah,
I mean, they had snow out in the Black Hills, I saw.
quite a bit of it
Yeah.
too. It wasn't,
And a couple guys I saw fishing up in South Dakota, they fished a lake where the water temps were like 60 degrees last week, and they went back this week and they were like 48
40s,
degrees.
yep.
It is kind of crazy.
Sunday night, would it get down to 34?
Something like that.
Something.
Yeah.
I mean,
When I went and talked to Josh Baker the other night, he said there was some frost there in Dune, so
yep.
Yeah.
got pretty cold.
But no, all in all, it was an awesome weekend. I mean,
Yep.
It's something, you know, that you just kind of you dream about ever since when you're little, and it doesn't matter what
yeah.
size of a tournament.
Definitely. And hopefully on to bigger things, you know, down the road. Who knows? I mean, you know,
And
you've
that
got
was-
your name in for a Bassmaster Open and
Yeah.
or a Bass Open, and you know, who knows between all three of us what 5 years down the road could hold,
Exactly.
you know. And I won't say bigger and better, I just said bigger, because that tournament and group of guys down there at Iowa Great Lakes Bass Club is top notch. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a relaxed setting. You know, I'm walking around with these guys, and I don't know them, they don't know me, but I don't feel like they're sizing me up. I don't
No.
feel like, you know, they're, you know, acting like they're better than me. a real low key, you know, just a bunch of dudes that like to bass fish and, you know, share the same passion as everyone else. So
Yeah,
that's
and when
that's the
somebody
cool part
does
about
good,
it.
they're excited for them.
Yep.
I mean, it's not
Exactly.
like everybody's like, it's not like everybody's like, okay, weigh-in's over, and everybody's just like, I mean,
Yep.
a lot of guys came up to us and shook our hands and
Yep.
were excited for us, just as excited as if they would had won, and
Right.
so it was an awesome day.
Yep.
Hopefully now it's about getting consistent and doing, you know, being up there to compete for every one of the tournaments.
To where they think about kicking you out because you just
well, to think, oh, here comes those guys in that tiller.
Tiller
Watch out.
frickin' schmucks.
I think that was one comment that I saw on a post that I put on one of the groups was,
saw
you know,
that.
the guy was like, wait a minute, you're not in a bass boat, and it's just like, yep.
Got her done. But,
You know, you talked about how many fish you caught over the day, and we kind of kept joking about it all day long. Every time Scott, I'd be up there in the front of the boat, and all of a sudden Scott, oh, caught another one, and I'd be sitting there, and he'd get it in, and he was just kind of weighing them for fun in the back, and then he'd kind of throw them out, and I'd give out got a score tracker update for you, Matt. Scott Thurman weighed in a 1.11 ounce fish. He's currently still in first place, and that's 20 fish for 50 pounds. And then I started giving him crap because Scott's not a real big fan of the Major League Fishing, the MLF.
I hate it.
About their format. But I was like, does this change your mind maybe a little bit about it? Because I'm pretty sure that if we would have kept track of all the 1+ pound fish that you caught the other day, you would have had more weight than I did.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure of that.
I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but I mean, I know for sure that I would say I caught.
Toot it. You had a heck of a day. You caught.
I got on a run
fish.
early. I got on a real run early, and I mean, I caught 10 fish. I mean, in 40 casts, it almost seemed like. I mean, it was really happening.
There was a few. I think there was like one time where you had like 3 in a row or something. 3 casts in a row. You caught
Yeah.
fish that would keep.
Right, and I mean, like I said, I was really catching them early, and yeah, I imagine that there was maybe 1 or 2 that weren't at 1 pound, but Matt was, you know, is kind of crazy, but I mean, Matt probably caught 10 northerns to my 3.
Right.
Matt caught a walleye. I didn't catch anything but largemouth bass. But yeah, I would say that I did catch more fish. I mean, you definitely caught the bigger of the fish, but all in all, I would say possibly that I would have possibly, you know, been total more than you. But I still hate MLF. I don't. I mean, the cool aspect of, like we experienced, going to the weigh-ins, not knowing what we had,
Yep.
not knowing what anyone else has. You know, when they're telling you the whole entire time, you know that Dusty Ramsey's still at 0 fish, and you know, you don't know, you gotta, you know, hey, I'm in the driver's seat. I mean, there's these guys that know that they're qualifying for the next day and will purposely start sandbagging because, you know, whatever. I mean, you don't have that in bass. I mean, you're going hard until you gotta take her back to the ramp.
Right.
And I don't know, there's something about that. I mean, we launched off at 6 o'clock in the morning, got back to the ramp at 3, and I think I had one Snicker bar, half a Snicker bar in between there. Matt had a couple mixed, or trail mix, or maybe a one power bar. I mean, like, I drank half a bottle of water. I mean, I didn't have coffee. I didn't have any sort of caffeine. Like, I mean, the fishing was the drug that day. And I mean, we were just going hard. I didn't even think about eating. You know, I mean,
And for people that know Scott, that's
yeah,
that tells
exactly.
you
I mean,
something.
this body is not God-given, believe it or not.
I think what did it was that Snickers bar. Shout out to Snickers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you're not you when you're hungry.
That's
Just
exactly
pop a
right.
Snickers, catching bass, baby.
But that's just it. Like, I mean, you know, I don't know. I just feel like you got to go hard until the whistle blows. I feel like, I don't know. That format is just not for me. Whether I would have won or not, like I said before, I'm happy as a clam that I weighed 3 fish. I'm way happy that I got second place. I don't even care about the money. I could have given it back. Just knowing that I got second place is good enough for me. And, you know, I've kind of thought about it, you know. All right, the first tournament, my goal was to weigh 8 fish. Got it done. Second tournament, my goal was to weigh 3 fish. Got it done and got second. Well, I guess my only goal from here on out is to get first, and I don't know, I kind of feel bad because chances aren't great that I'm going to accomplish that next time, but, you know, I mean, I've just been accomplishing goals this whole time, and then now all of a sudden, boom, I'm going to...
It's the goal to set.
Yeah, and I mean, that's always everyone's secret goal.
Well,
like I said before, if you're not out there to win, pack her up and head her home because, I mean, you can go out and fish on your own and do it whatever.
Well, yeah, you might as well just go fish then.
Right,
instead
exactly.
Of being in a tournament.
Yeah, if you're not there to win, you...
I mean, unless it's one of those deals where you're trying to compete for like an Angler of the Year title or something.
Right,
And you
right.
need points, well then you get to the point where you want to make the top 12 cut in those big tournaments. But at small tournaments,
Yeah.
the goal is to finish in the money.
And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about here with MLF and Bass, the Bassmaster Elite Series has been around for quite...
For a long time.
I mean-
This next year is going to be the 50th Classic, so, and I think it's been around longer than that.
The Elite Series has, okay.
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
not
so...
well, not the Elite Series. I mean, but Bass.
Bass
BASS.
itself. Yep.
Yeah, Bass is.
So they have what is called the Elite Series, and I think it used to be like all the way up to pert near 135 anglers, and
Usually it was like just over 100.
okay, and then I know they dropped to 100. Right now they're at 80 anglers, but it's always been Bass and the FLW, which is Fishing League Worldwide. And last year, at the end of the year, a bunch of guys who were in the Bass organization split off and went with a new series called MLF, Major League Fishing. And what did it wipe out? All but 6 of the anglers?
Something. There wasn't many left out of the Elite Series. Most of them went over to the Major League Fishing.
Yep. And I think it was all but 6 or 8. Chris Zaldane, Seth Fighter, I don't know, to name a few, but
Yeah.
6, 8 guys is all that was left. And everyone just kind of thought like, well, MLF's got all the guys, you know, how's Bass even going to compete? But, you know, you think about it like with football. 15 years ago, you know, it was Dan Marino, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, you know, oh man, these are the guys. Well, then all of a sudden came along Tom Brady and, you know, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is, you know, lighting stuff up. Like, there's always going to be these new guys coming in. There's so many, we've talked about this before too, like there's probably a guy in Alabama right now who's not fishing on any tours that might be
would
able
beat 'em
to
all.
catch them better than anybody, you know. And I mean, there's always going to be new talent coming in. There's more than 300 anglers, and I don't know, you know, maybe I'm a little bit bitter, but I like Bass better. I don't really like the way MLF went about the whole entire deal.
It's
Whether or
kind of a
not,
business thing. I mean,
I get it.
And I think they were kind of went headhunting for people in Bass and to get them over to the Major League Fishing and had a little bit more incentives, which was good. We talked about it last week, which caused Bass to kind of change their format a little bit too, so that
right, they're catering to the anglers now more,
yeah.
and MLF, you know, they lured them over with, you know, more money, more airtime, you know, this is going to be better for your sponsors, you're going to make way more money, and yeah, you know, I mean, this is what these guys do for a living. So, I mean, you know, if another job offers you more money, you can't not turn it down, but
more stability. I don't know if I want to say more stability, but it kind of was. It was like you were guaranteed something for the tournaments, and like
Right.
I don't know if they pay much, what their entry fee costs are. I don't think it's a whole lot.
yeah, but I don't know. I listened to Boyd Duckett and Boyd Duckett was one of the big guys that was really instrumental. He was an Elite Series angler, and now he's an angler on MLF, but he was one of the big guys that was instrumental in getting the MLF series going. And I listened to him on Bass Talk Live, which is another podcast, and I just think the dude is an absolute schmuck. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I mean, just the way he was talking. I mean, I don't know. I think the whole thing is going to fold up. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think that you can keep pumping millions and millions of dollars. And their goal is to make this as big as the Super Bowl, as big as football, as big as basketball. And I don't know. I just don't think fishing is ever going to be a mainstream sport, no matter how much guys like us want it to be.
It's a niche thing. I mean, for a market, it's going to be a big thing. But overall, if you try to there's not going to be casual people that are going to be like, oh, this fishing tournament is on TV. Let's watch this. Whereas, people that might not watch a football game all year are like, oh, it's the Super Bowl. Let's watch this,
Right.
So.
And fishing's still got that stigma of, being a bunch of redneck hillbillies that are just out there. I mean, people don't realize that there's actually some science that goes into it, with water temperatures, water levels, water current, different colors and,
Moon
with the sun. Yeah, moon phase. I mean, there's more to it to fish at an elite level, and you're never going to talk someone that isn't interested in knowing how that goes into believing what you're saying here. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm a bass guy. I think Matt's more of a bass guy, but you are open to, watching MLF just for the pure love of fishing.
Just because of the fishing. And at the end of the day, they're still fishing. And I just like to learn,
Right.
like watch them,
Yep.
and, watch what they're doing and kind of how they talk about their approach to things. Like I told you before, I like the old format of the Major League Fishing where it was the TV show. And it was just like they'd take these guys from the different tours and they'd put them in it and they'd compete for it. And there was only like 20 of them. They'd have like elimination rounds and then eventually they would go and I don't know.
Yeah.
The guys were all in the same boat or the same size boat. They didn't have practice time. They would just bring them to the lake. They'd have like a 15-minute drive around period where they could kind of drive around and get an idea. And boom, they'd go out there and fish. And I kind of like that a little bit more than this whole big tournament thing because it's like I feel like I don't hear about the guys that I always used to hear about in bass. Bass you'd hear about a guy could also make a move the next day and
Yep.
get himself in contention of it, whereas with the Major League Fishing it just doesn't. I don't know, they're trying to cater to the fans, but I just don't think it caters to the fans as much, to tell you.
I don't think so neither. They talked about how they get back to the boat ramp, and the people that actually come, the weigh-in is done. I mean, these guys go and they load their boat and they get out of there.
Well, they do like a post-game, like athletes do, they try to do like a post-game thing about it, and it just, I don't know. And it's, they're commentating, they got their commentators, they got good commentators and everything, but it seems like they
not
they
Zona.
well they,
Yeah,
they do
right.
more commentating just on those people instead of on the fishermen. At least with like Bass Live, they'll have Zona and those guys talking to the anglers, but you're still watching the guy fish.
Right.
My big thing is the entertainment part. Like, I watch MLF sometimes just because, like you said, it's fishing. I like to watch fishing and learn. But, when you got guys on there, Kevin Van Dam, another 1 pound, 4 ounce fish, another 1 pound, 8 ounce fish, another 2 pound fish, whatever. And the guys know what everyone's got. It's not entertaining. Whereas on the bass side, it comes to the final guy in the weigh-in, and it's like, all right, he needs 2 pounds, 14 ounces. And then they weigh the fish, and it's like 3 pounds, 10 ounces, and he wins it. And there's like a big crowd there, and everyone goes crazy, and he.
And it is staged a little bit, I mean, they know what everyone's got, and they kind of, plant them in there,
Right,
in
yeah.
order, to build suspense and whatever.
That's the best part.
It is,
I
though. It is.
love that about it.
Yeah, it really is. Just, well, the other day I was watching the MLF, and I turned on the MLF Live, and I was watching Jason Christie work this shoreline, and he's like, oh, there was one right there I missed. That was my mistake. Then he casts it back up in there, and he has it on and loses it. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, now we'll go over to this angler and live with this angler. It's like, okay, something happened, and a little bit later I came back and I refreshed it to start it up, and it was like, all of a sudden it's like, well, here Jason Christie is working this bank again. I'm like, wait a minute, is this deja vu? It was a previous
Watching the same
recording,
thing.
and it's like they were advertising it as live, but it really wasn't live. So it's just like every time they, at least with bass, they're like, oh, now we're going to go to so-and-so that just recently caught one and have the video of them catching one.
Right.
Instead of just trying to say that, oh, you're on the water with them when you're not. So.
Right.
And that's like why it makes you question sometimes with the MLF, like, oh, he caught it with 10 seconds to go in the period, you know, a 9-pounder. And it's like, did he really catch it with 9 seconds to go, or did he
Yeah.
catch it earlier and you guys recorded it and are playing it off as a, he caught it with 10 seconds on the clock to go?
Well, and I know that they talked about, you know, it's funny that you say that. They talked about that the Bassmaster Classic this last year needed big moments. You know, that's what it needed to captivate fans, to know that it was still going to happen. They needed the moments. And you kind of wonder, like, you know, with this MLF, the same, just the story that you just told, like, you know, were they hoping that some people were going to watch that and they were going to talk about, you know, Skeet Reese, you know, right at the end, you know, nails a hog to get it, you know, and that's going to be what the people talk about for the next week or two.
Right.
You know, you're trying to get that moment, and I don't know, I'm not even going to say anymore. I don't like it. I don't like it. I like bass. I like the guys in bass. I listen to a lot of Bass Talk Live, and I only listen to the bass guys. I don't listen to the MLF guys. If it's an MLF show, I don't even listen to it. So
It's like they try to like fake or stage that big moment that bass has, like I was talking about earlier. It's like they try to like compare to that to give people that sense of surprise or whatever. But like you said, it's almost like it's like faked or staged, where they time it or like record it or whatever.
Well, you know, maybe the FLW guys kind of feel the same way about bass as what, you know, we feel about MLF. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, Bass has been taking guys from FLW, you know, their elite sticks for the past how long, you know.
And vice versa.
But yeah, it did happen.
There's
Yeah.
been big
Yep,
guys that are in
FLW.
Bass that go back to FLW that
Right.
like that circuit a little bit more. I think it's kind of funny as far as you go, as you talk about the difference between Bass and the FLW guys, is when the FLW guys come over to Bass, now they gotta land fish without a net. The FLW, they still use nets to
Okay.
catch their fish, and Bass, it's you gotta land it with your, you know, by flipping it in the boat. You can't use nets,
Yep.
or, you know, landing it by hand, which anybody knows that
Difficult.
that in itself is tough.
Definitely.
I
A lot of
mean,
people lose fish that way.
especially like a big fish, you're not gonna boat flip it. I
Right.
mean,
The other thing that I don't like is MLF. I'm gonna say this and then I'm done. Then I'm done. But MLF, you know, brags about the conservation, you know, about how they're not throwing these fish in the box and bringing them back to weigh and stressing these fish. You know, we're, you know, catching
they never
them, weighing
touch,
them,
you know,
release them.
yeah,
You know,
and they
boom,
get
they're-
penalties if they touch the carpet and all
Yep,
this.
you
yeah.
know, oh, the conservation of the fish. But these same anglers are going out the next weekend when they don't have a tournament and fishing a Bass Open or fishing a club tournament. Then they're filling their box and going back to the weigh-ins. You know, if you're going to be that way on conservation, I get it. That's great. I agree. It definitely is the more even ethical way of doing things. But if you're going to brag about it, you got to be that way 365.
Right.
Not just on the morning of a MLF deal. Like, you know, if you believe it and you're going to promote it and you're going to buy into it 100%, because, you know, if one weekend you're writing on Facebook about how great this is for the fish, and the next weekend you're going to fish a club tournament back home with a, you know, long lost buddy, and you're filling your box, well, you're not really.
It's kind of contradictory to
Yeah,
what you're
it-
preaching.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I get a kick out of it now every time they talk to a Bass guy or a MLF guy, and like at the Classic this year, there's a bunch of guys that are in MLF that fish the Classic because they had qualified last year
Yep.
through the Bass. And the Bassmaster Classic is still the elite tournament of the nation. That and the Forest
Does
Wood Cup.
anyone even know what the Red Crest is?
No idea.
And, and I got a kick out of it at the Classic, how all of a sudden all these guys are like, oh, I got to get my cull tabs out. It's like they totally forgot how to cull, you know, use a cull tab. It's just like, knock it off. It's just like, I know you're playing off how like the MLF is all on that, but
I would have laughed. I would have laughed hard if one of them dudes would have caught one and been so used to freaking
just
tossing it
choked her.
back.
I'm like, whoops.
Sucker.
Don't laugh, because there's a few times this weekend when we were calling, you sit there, and even if you got a 4+ pounder in this hand and you got a 1.5 pounder in this hand, before you throw it out, you like make sure it's like, okay, which one's in which hand? It's like, you don't want to be the guy that just takes it and like, oh, I just threw a 4 pounder out and kept the 1 pounder.
I'd
So,
dive in. No. But no, I think that's all we really got tonight. I don't know, unless you guys got something else to to bring up. We're at 45, 44 and a half right now.
All
So
right, so
Future plans? Next tournament?
next tournament.
next
is,
tournament ain't for another month, June
Yeah.
28 or something like that.
on
So
Spirit Lake. So we're gonna have to get over there and do some pre-fishing and try to figure out some stuff at that time.
yeah, as fun as that or the bass has been lately, I do want to get out and catch some walleyes. I mean,
Right.
we
We've
haven't
been kinda
done it
putting
yet.
that-
And, yeah, so we got to get out and do some walleye fishing. I wouldn't mind even going after a couple panfish.
Definitely, we got to get a panfish trip planned out. And that's the thing about it, you know, how people are like, how can you just bass fish? And I mean, when you start getting on it and you start doing it, it's anything, whether it be walleye, bass, panfish. I mean, you kind of get focused on it. That's why we kind of like to take claim that we're very well-rounded fishermen. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, we dabble in it all.
Well, I mean, right now the bass fishing.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
after this weekend, it's kind of like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, after you guys talking about it, man, I mean, besides the river here, I haven't gone out and done any, like, lake fish or anything like that. So, like, I'm, like, super pumped to go and get on some bass, man.
Right.
But I mean, they fight hard, and you know, I mean, they're out of the
jumping,
water. You
yeah.
know, I mean, they smack it hard.
Yeah.
You know, not controlling fishermen, but you know, I mean, when you're trolling along and you see your rod go and you pick it up and reel it in, I mean, it's an effective way of fishing. And don't get me wrong, it's fun,
Right.
but it ain't the
No.
same. I don't even care.
No.
So, all right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to episode 24. See you next week for 25. And yeah,
Yeah.
Peace
Thank you
out.
guys.
see ya.